Welcome everyone to the Dr. Abs Healthcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brian Abasolo, aka Dr. Abs, and on today's show we have wellness and weight loss expert Dr. Dave Rendelstein, who has an amazing health transformation story. He lost over 100 pounds in 6 months using the very system he now uses to help clients lose the weight they have been battling for years. As a trained chiropractor and the owner of FinTech, Dr. Rendelstein has extensive experience in helping people finally achieve lasting weight loss and an improved quality of life. After helping thousands of people put themselves first, he realized that when you positively affect your health, it creates a ripple effect on all areas of your life. Dr. Rendelstein is also the creator of the revolutionary Thin Test, which helps people to identify their barriers to losing weight and keeping it off. Dr. Rendelstein specializes in speaking from his own experience with weight loss and speaks on how to remain healthy and lose weight. Since he lost over 100 pounds in 6 months himself, he's here to inspire and encourage others to do the same. He most recently created the Quarantine Challenge. The challenge is a series of simple daily challenges designed to help people take better control of their lives, maintain productivity, create a better self, and a better life on the other side of the quarantine. Improve health, connect with others, and most importantly, laugh. So I'm excited to get started with the interview. So let's bring on Dr. Dave Rendelstein. Welcome to the Healthcast, Dr. Rendelstein. How are you doing today?
I am as well as could be expected, Brian. I think that's the answer that most people are giving these days. So that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I want to start off with that. How's everything going with, you're up in the Northeast in New Jersey, pretty much the epicenter up there, along with Miami, my hometown. Unfortunately, but how's everything going up there? How's your family? Is everyone staying safe and healthy?
Thank you for asking. Yes, everyone in my family is doing well. Most people I know are doing well. I do know people who've had people in their family who have passed. So I think some of that's inevitable. But let's face it, this is a world gone mad right now, Brian.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is kind of nuts right now, and I think that's where people like you and I come in. If we can effectively help people, give them a sense of control over their own lives and their own health,
Yeah,
then we will have done something worthwhile.
absolutely. So, Doc, we're going to talk a lot about weight loss on today's episode because you are a leading expert in the weight loss field, and you're having a lot of success up in New Jersey with your clinics. I want you to give the audience a sense of what your health journey has been. I know you have an amazing weight loss story. So if you could just please share that with the audience.
So I was one of these people who I was always up and down with my weight. If you would have seen me in high school, you would have thought I was fat. If you would have seen me in college, you would have thought I was fat at first and then lean. And then I've gone back and forth, like a lot of your listeners.
Yeah.
I tried a lot of things and a lot of them did not work. And the basic approach that's out there, as you know, is mostly about calories.
Yeah.
And I think the emphasis needs to be more about building health, more about creating a better machine. So I always use this metaphor, the food is the fuel and the metabolism is the engine. And the engine can and does get messed up in our society. What's happening in our outside world comes in. We have 80,000 registered chemicals that are out there. Many of them are known endocrine disruptors. So they get into our bodies and they do their jobs and they do it very well. They disrupt, our hormone system. When that happens, that can lead to all kinds of problems. The plagues that people are, or at least the plagues we were experiencing before the new plagues,
Yeah.
Diabetes, heart disease, all of that happens as a result. So we really need to clean up the body. We need to make the engine function better.
So I understand you lost over 100 pounds in a 6-month span. Is that correct?
6 months on the program, right? So
Wow.
the program that I offer is done in different phases. I didn't do the phases one after the other consecutively. Had I done them consecutively, it would have been 6 months. So it was a little longer than that. But essentially, yes. Yeah. The program actually that I offer, there was a study done on it. There's a couple of studies. Now, most programs don't have studies, so you have all these guys making all these claims.
Yeah.
But there have been 2 studies done in our program. One of them was a prospective cohort study of over 4,000 people. The average weight loss in the first 40 days of the program was 26 pounds.
Wow.
So it is rapid fat loss is our focus.
Okay.
And we do it by, again, giving the body what it needs to function better. Right. So some people may ask the question, well, what is it? What is it that's impeding the proper function? Well, just think of an engine again. What can happen to an engine? Well, rust, for one thing.
Yep.
Rust happens in the body.
Yeah.
We don't call it rust, but that happens, right? And that's what antioxidants take care of.
Yep.
Gunk or toxins can build up. Not having sufficient amounts of water, so being underhydrated, dehydrated, not having oxygen, correct pH levels. So these things need to be addressed. Certain conditions need to be created, and the natural result of creating those conditions is better health and weight loss.
So you touch on better health, and obviously now with COVID, there's a lot of emphasis on the immune system, which there should have always been, but now more so. We need to keep our immune systems functioning at an all-time high. So what would you say is the importance of building up your immune system, and also in its relation to weight loss?
Well, I got to tell you something, and now you're going to get me started on a roll or a rampage
Tangent,
here, because I don't think enough emphasis has been placed on it.
Yeah.
Our leading expert today is an immunologist. He never talks about the immune system. And I think, and what concerns me, and I've said this to people over and over, what concerns me is that the proper lesson should be how we have to build our bodies and our immune systems up so we can better deal with these outside challenges.
Correct.
And I think what's going to happen, or what's happening a lot, is that people are waiting for this messianic answer. Be it a vaccine or be it some kind of a treatment. And we know that the people who are most vulnerable are the ones whose immune systems are compromised to some degree. Yeah. So the responsibility is still on us. If we abdicate our responsibility, then we're taking a risk with our own lives.
Yeah, we can't just wait for the quote unquote savior to come along and heal all. I mean, it's kind of like our the medical system today. It's like people think, oh, I could just pop this pill and it'll take care of my, diabetes, my obesity, my weight loss. And that's just not the case. So
yeah, haven't they done a great job though? I mean, they've done a great job in branding, but it's kind of insidious because really the subtext is that you're not capable, and that, well, you have to wait until you're very sick and then we can come and save you. But that's not where the power should lie. The power and control of our health should lie with us. Yeah. And so it's incumbent upon us to understand.
Yeah. Preventative care rather than, wait till you get sick and then deal with it then.
Absolutely.
So how would you say people can take control of their health, like in your estimation?
So it starts with understanding. And it starts with understanding about what health is. When you and I were in chiropractic school, there's we learned the definitions of health. And the definition of health is not the absence of disease or infirmity. It's not the absence of symptoms. The definition of health is a condition of wholeness where your organs are functioning correctly. It's essentially function. And that's what we need to think about. And where does function come from? Well, it comes from within. It can't come from a pill. Pills aren't smart. Pills are stupid, right? They're inert. You can take them and they have a physiological effect, but it can't regulate. And we have this inborn ability to regulate.
Yes.
And that's what needs to be respected first and foremost.
Yeah. Innate intelligence.
Innate intelligence, yeah.
Yes,
you know the way I put it, Brian, and some of my clients got a kick out of this, is I said, if you really want to understand health, I'll give you the secret to health right now. All right, one word. Roll one word. Everyone, can we get a drum roll? Okay. Cerumen. Cerumen.
Do explain, please.
So people understand what cerumen is they're shutting it off right now. They're shutting me off. They're saying this guy's insane, right? So cerumen is earwax, right?
Okay.
Now, if we have too much of it, we can't hear. You have potatoes growing out of your ear. If we don't have enough, we get ear infections. Now, the body creates this cerumen in the exact amounts when it's functioning properly.
Yep.
Now, if you take cerumen and then you add to it the crust that's in your eye, you know, or spit or any other gross, you know, liquid that's created by our bodies that has a function and is created more often than not in the exact right amount to serve its purpose, then you realize how intelligent the body is and how we have to respect that.
Absolutely.
There you go,
Absolutely.
cerumen.
Cerumen. As simple as that.
That's it.
So for those out there that, you know, think, you know, attaining this type of health is essentially like a drag, you know, God, I got to eat right. I got to drink enough water and so on and so forth. How would you talk to those types of patients when it comes to finding joy in the creation of health? Because it has to be fun, because if it's not fun and it's, you know, like I said, a drag, then, you know, people are going to fall off the wagon.
Absolutely. We've all done it, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, and you're very good at this, and you're very astute for bringing that up, because
Yeah.
I think it's one of the main problems that we see today, which is whether it's applied to weight loss or it's applied to our work or whatever. There seems to be a diminishing passion. Most of the things we do is we do to avoid pain, and there's no pleasure about it. We have to. We don't want to, but we have to, and that's a problem in and of itself, because what happens is that it builds up resentment, and we'll do it for as long as we have to, and then we'll backslide, and it happens over and over again. So what I would encourage people to do is to become aware of those things that we resent. And I think if you pay enough attention, I know this is true for me, if you pay enough attention, that resentment is actually a rage.
Yeah.
You know, oh, I have to eat right. I have to shop and prepare my own food, and you can't do anything anymore, and you're not free, and we feel so constrained and suppressed.
Yeah.
So how do we find joy in that? I wish I had an easy answer for that.
How did you find joy?
I don't always, but it's my goal. I've identified it as a goal, right?
Yeah.
I do find joy in it. So here's an example. I'll give you an example. I had some friends who were in from out of town, and they, you know, we're in New Jersey. We have things that people can't get elsewhere, at least not as good. All right.
Yeah.
Now that's my personal bias, right? If you start talking about the Yankees, I'll really get obnoxious. But so we stopped at a pizza place, and this particular pizza place is known for having pizzas that are double the size of regular pies. Okay. And they're sitting there pigging out, and I'm not eating. And they start making fun of me, right? Because I'm just watching them. They're like, how could you do it? How could you not eat and whatever? And by the way, right after that was the hors d'oeuvre, basically. After that, we went out to eat.
That was a feast that you guys had that night.
It was disgusting. I mean, it was like they could have brought over a trough, right? And
that's torture, man. That's a lot of willpower that you had right there.
It wasn't all willpower.
Yeah.
It wasn't all willpower. I mean, I ended up having, I think, I don't know, chicken and broccoli, right?
Oof.
But what it was is that I knew that they were going to go home. They were not going to be able to breathe. They were going to have trouble sleeping. They were going to feel like crap the next day.
Yeah.
And I was reveling in the fact that I would be able to breathe. So the experience that I want is a freed up experience of being able to think and breathe and what have you.
It's important.
And so I won at that particular point, right?
Yeah.
It's a process.
Trust me, I've been there many a times where, you know, people are just indulging and I'm sitting there and like, nope, you know, I compare it to like drinking, you know, when people go out, they get sloshed the night before, and then the next day you're just a mess. You can't function. It's like, I want to be able to function tomorrow. I don't want to have, you know, crazy, disgusting bowel movements. Like, I want to be functioning and be productive.
Right.
So I totally feel you on that. So let's talk a little bit about myths as far as weight loss, because there's a lot of popular myths out there about it. And I also want you to talk about, you know, maybe the barriers to weight loss and how people out there can actually overcome them.
Okay, good. So regarding myths, I mean, I think we kind of hit on a couple of them. You're going to get arguments. If I start saying what I believe are myths, we're going to get a lot of arguments. Obviously, you know, calories shouldn't be crazy. But also, obviously, all calories are not equal. You know,
Yeah.
if you have a bunch of, you know, sugary crap on the one hand, and then the same calories of a good, healthful food, the body's going to process it differently.
Correct. Yes.
So we can improve really on what God and nature has kind of put on this earth for us to eat. So
Yeah.
I would say that. At the very least, you know, when things are confusing, which they are these days, and things are always confusing in the field of weight loss, what do we know for sure? Well, we know broccoli is better for you than potato chips. So if you're not clear, then just stick with the broccoli as opposed to the potato chips,
Yeah.
right?
Err on the side of caution.
Yeah, exactly. Regarding barriers, now the interesting thing about weight is that weight is kind of at the crossroads between every mental and physiological conflict that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that goes into it. There's all this emotional stuff and fulfillment of needs, and then there's environmental factors, going out with friends, going to a family function, and then there's also, you know, just understanding and knowledge. So what I've done is I've identified 6 basic barriers,
Mm.
and I've put them into an online interactive evaluation that people can go and take. They
Very
can go to
cool.
my website and click on it. We call it the Thin Test.
Okay.
And when you take that, you can see clearly what the barriers are, and so you know what you have to work on. If someone, for example, you know, is motivated, if somebody has a good understanding, but their physiology, in other words, their metabolism is really, really slow, they can't rise higher than their motivation.
Mm.
So it's the physiology that needs to be improved. It's the metabolism that needs to be optimized.
Yeah.
Conversely, if somebody has a good metabolism and they're very motivated and they don't have any environmental factors in their way, so they don't have anyone who's sabotaging them, they have access to good, healthy food, but they don't understand actually how to do it, and the understanding is low, well, they can't rise above that lowest point.
Yeah.
So what I would encourage people to do is to take that evaluation and get a better understanding. And then if they want to have a subsequent conversation with myself or one of my staff, then we can get that set up.
So just to get a kind of like a synopsis on what, you know, the type of questions, and as far as like getting a little bit into the barriers, like what will people, I guess, get out of that test when they take it online?
The test in and of itself will give them a bar graph that it basically, the idea is how likely are you to be successful in your weight loss efforts,
Mm.
right? Some people are out there considering, well, I don't want to try to lose weight again because I've failed before, you know,
Okay.
and so they don't even want to do it. They don't even want to start in the first place. But if you had a better idea of how likely you are to be successful, most people, if they knew 100% for sure that they were going to be successful, then they wouldn't have problems starting on a path.
Correct.
But people don't know that, and because they don't know what were their barriers that have sabotaged them in the past and will sabotage them again, likely, unless they do something differently.
Got it.
So that's the idea. When you take this evaluation, you basically get a bar graph and a score out of 100 that says what the percentage is.
So what the percentage of how likely you are to succeed in your weight loss journey, and specifically what your barriers towards your weight loss are.
That's right. But
Okay.
it's only an opening to fixing it, right?
Got
It's
it.
only an initial understanding. The rest will come from an examination, either by yourself, or I encourage people to, you know, to have a coach, right? Michael Jordan always had a coach.
Yeah.
So that's why we say, well, give us a call and then we can help you through it.
Got it. Got it. And what have you noticed in your clinic and with your patients that, you know, what are the main, you know, barriers that you see over and over again?
Great question. Great question. So, time is a big one. Up
Time.
in the Northeast, people lead very busy lives,
Mm.
right? So, time is a big factor. Physiology is a big factor. Brian, you probably had this experience. You know, a person will say, I'm doing everything right. I've had people in tears. I do everything right. I exercise, I eat right, and I still can't lose weight. Now, sometimes people aren't actually doing everything right if you examine it further,
Probably the
but
case. Yeah.
but sometimes they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about people who are super on top of things. You
Mm.
know, one lady comes to mind who came to my office. Her name is Bonnie. She's one of my favorite people in the world. When she came into the office, she was 60 pounds overweight, and tears were streaming from her, down her cheeks. She was saying, "This is my last shot. After this, I give up." Bonnie is one of these people that is incredibly regimented. She was doing everything she was supposed to do. It was her physiology, her metabolism. We do a test when a person comes into the office. It's called a body composition analysis.
Yeah.
Right. As you know, weight, BMI, is not the last word on your health or your metabolism or your leanness.
Yes.
Your BMI might be considered in the red. You might be considered obese based on BMI because you're like a rock. You have all this muscle. Every linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah.
So we did this test, and one of the things we get from this test is a score called the metabolic age. Well, Bonnie was 56, I believe. Her metabolic age was 76.
Oh, wow.
Now, 60 pounds later, after rehabilitating her physiology, she lost 60 pounds. Her metabolic age is in the teens.
Nice.
She's as lean as can be. And then there have been all these ancillary benefits. Like now she can move her bowels daily. Before it was once a week.
Ooh.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I don't have anything to do with that. I don't examine that. I don't, we're not trying to do that. We're trying to create better conditions in the body, and then the body knows what to do.
It's like when you address the physiological needs and, you basically balance everything, the natural course is just going to take place. And that's just a natural symptom of what you guys were able to do with her.
Yeah. And you don't know what's going to happen. That's wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Headaches will go away, or, I've had people, and this is rare. And again, I'm going to say this as a guy, I don't treat this stuff.
Yeah.
But I've had prescriptions change. I can't exactly even trace the physiological mechanism of that.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not my job. My job is to assist a person into creating the conditions that will result in better health and in weight loss.
And what have you noticed as far as, because I know a lot of times some of the barriers is the support system around them,
Right.
A lot of people have maybe negative influences that, prevent them from getting to where they want to be. What have you noticed about that? And how do you address that in your clinic with your patients?
Yeah, it's also a great question. It's one of the tougher ones, right? Where, if a person is getting ridiculed, if they're getting suppressed in some way from someone who's close to them, I mean, that is a huge sabotage. It's one of the things we ask on this test.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in various ways to varying degrees. I mean, at its worst, I've seen people quit the program because other people who supposedly cared about them were saying nasty things to them.
Yeah.
To a lesser degree, I've seen people still carry on, but not with the same joy that they would have had.
Yeah.
They still go through the program and they still get the results, but they can't enjoy it as much because they have people saying tacky things to them. And sometimes it's not always overt, like, "Oh, you're an idiot, it'll never work."
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more underhanded.
Like little jabs here and there that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Indirect.
you have any fun? Or "Oh, you look great. You'll never keep it off." It's incredibly.
Yeah.
A video that I send out to my clients when they start the program, and it talks about this subject and how to handle it. By the way, if there's anyone out there who's listening I'll send you that video, even though it's supposed to be for people on the program, for my clients.
Yeah.
But if that'll assist them, then I'll be happy to send that.
Yeah, no, I think that's so huge to have a positive support system. And, if you are getting that negative energy out there, which is possibly hindering you from achieving your goals, you need to get rid of that negative energy somehow, some way. I know it's obviously tough, if they're your blood and they're your family, that you live with them. So, it's a little tricky there. And another part of it, I'm sure, is motivation. How do you help these people find hope after hardship? Maybe they've failed at every other single diet that they've ever tried, and now they come to you and, you basically provide hope for them. What would you say to that?
Yeah. Well, also, it's one of the fascinating things about the subject of weight loss, right? Because it's not just about weight loss.
Yeah.
And what we see is, unfortunately, some people have their compass set to negativity, set to failure, and then ultimately, they'll create that.
Yeah.
Or even if they succeed, like they can't enjoy it, and they're so full of fear that they're going to lose that. I don't mean lose that weight. I mean lose the benefits that they've gained.
Yeah.
Right? And this is part of, I guess, the human condition. It's not something that I have an absolute solution for. I'd love to say that, well, yeah, sure, we'll change that. No, I'll say this: when you win, you have to recognize it as a win.
Yeah. No matter how small it is.
Absolutely. You have to recognize it as a win. You have to say, damn it, I did it. I did a great job. Look at me. I get to enjoy the benefits of it. And I want more of this, as opposed to just being incredibly neurotic about, well, you're so used to failing that it's inevitably going to happen again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what would you say for people out there, what would be one tip that you would give the people out there that want to start on a weight loss journey? Like, what would be if you were to do this one thing, this is what you need to do. What would you say that would be?
So do I have to confine it to one thing?
Top 3 if you want.
Top 3. Okay, good. I have a 3-step plan.
Okay.
Okay, good. So here it is. So the first thing is choose certainty. Now, here's what I mean by that. If you're starting a weight loss program, most people think that certainty is the kind of thing that happens with experience, but it's not. It's a choice, right? We know that. We know people who are absolutely certain about things that they have no experience with, that they have no understanding of. They're just certain. And other people who should be certain are full of doubts, right?
Gotcha.
So choose to be certain. Choose the best plan. Choose something that that you vibe with, but then choose to be certain that it's the absolute best and you're absolutely going to win. Number 2 is be aware of your resentments. List out all your resentments. I hate shopping for food. I hate preparing my food. I hate whatever it is. Be aware of those things, because those are the things that'll sabotage you if you're not aware of them and you're not prepared for them. And then number 3 is gird yourself for the effort. So everything involves effort, right? Anything worth having involves some effort, some energy. You have to apply it. Absolutely. And it's amazing how people will start on a journey thinking that there's going to be no effort involved or not as much as they thought. So, think, how many hours will this take me per week? 5 hours. Okay, I'll put it on my calendar. It's going to take me an hour in this day to shop, an hour in this day to prepare, whatever it is. And be ready for that.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you really want to be sure, then you should overestimate and do something that someone who lives in your neighborhood, down in Miami, his name is Grant Cardone. He has a phenomenal book called The 10X Rule.
Yep.
He says, whatever you think it'll take, you multiply it by 10. And this way you have so much margin for error. Your estimation of the effort it's going to take and is so much more that it'll be easy for you. So that's what I would say. Those are 3 tips for people.
Very, very key right there. All right, Doc. So, just to recap, how could people find you? I want people out there to have access to that test, the video that you were offering. Where could people find you? Tell us your website, and what you got going on up there in New Jersey.
Be happy to. So I can be found at Thintech, THINTECH-weightloss.com. That's the website. On the website, there's a tab for the Thin Test. Okay. So you click on it, it's free to do. And I can be found on Facebook, also Thintech Weight Loss. Then I can be found, just if you yell out your window, send smoke signals, just something like that. Those are the basic ways to get me.
Okay, awesome, Doc. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and dropping so much insight about weight loss and
dropping knowledge. That's what we used to do. You're young, but in the 80s, we used to drop knowledge.
Absolutely. Dropping lots of knowledge today on today's show. So I want to thank you for coming on, and I appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me. And just for those of you who are listening, we're in this crazy time. It feels like the plagues. And I think one of the keys is if you can get a sense of control of at least one thing in your life. And the one thing that makes sense to me is health. If you can do that, then everything looks a little rosier.
Amen. Amen. All right, Doc. Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Dr. Abs.
Take care.
Be good.